$1.75 billion. That's how much two of the most powerful executives in America raised, and then watched evaporate in exactly 6 months. This is the most expensive startup death in Silicon Valley history. And the two people responsible? They were anything but amateurs. Jeffrey Katzenberg wasn't some nobody with a pitch deck. This man resurrected Walt Disney Animation. He greenlit The Lion King, Aladdin, The Little Mermaid, the films that transformed Disney into the empire it is today. Then he co-founded DreamWorks with Steven Spielberg and David Geffen. Shrek? That was him. Katzenberg had a track record that made investors salivate. So when he walked into a room in 2018 with his next big idea, people didn't just listen. They opened their checkbooks. The idea was called Quibi, short for Quick Bites, premium Hollywood content, but every episode clocked in under 10 minutes. Made exclusively for your phone. Katzenberg believed the future of entertainment wasn't the living room television. It was the device in your pocket. He imagined people watching during commutes, in waiting rooms, on lunch breaks, those stolen pockets of time YouTube and social media were already devouring. He wanted to bring movie-quality production to those moments. But he couldn't build this empire alone. So Katzenberg recruited Meg Whitman, the woman who transformed eBay from a quirky auction site into a $90 billion titan. She'd run for governor of California. She'd been CEO of Hewlett-Packard. In the world of corporate America, Whitman was royalty. Together, Katzenberg and Whitman looked like an unstoppable duo. Hollywood vision meets Silicon Valley execution. The kind of partnership that makes venture capitalists tremble with excitement. And what happened next proved just how powerful that excitement could be. In less than a year, they raised $1.75 billion. Every major studio in Hollywood wrote a check: Disney, NBC Universal, Sony, Lionsgate, Warner Media. Tech giants Google and Alibaba joined in. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan piled on. It was one of the largest pre-launch fundraising rounds in entertainment history. Nobody wanted to miss what these two were building. The fear of missing out was so powerful, it drowned out every rational question anyone should have been asking. And then the spending began. They spent that money fast. Quibi commissioned content from Steven Spielberg, Guillermo del Toro, Sam Raimi, and Antoine Fuqua. They signed deals with Chrissy Teigen, Idris Elba, Jennifer Lopez, and Liam Hemsworth. The per-minute production cost rivaled anything on Netflix or HBO. They were burning roughly $100 million a month before a single subscriber existed. Katzenberg was convinced that if the content was spectacular enough, the audience would come. But buried inside Quibi's blueprint was a decision that would destroy everything. Here's where the cracks appeared long before anyone noticed. Quibi made a single decision that would become its death sentence: mobile only. You could not watch Quibi on your television. You could not cast it to your Roku or Apple TV. You couldn't even take a screenshot of the content. Katzenberg insisted this was the future. Entertainment designed exclusively for the phone screen. His team even built a proprietary technology called Turnstile that seamlessly switched between portrait and landscape mode as you rotated your device. Technically impressive. The kind of innovation that wows investors in a boardroom. But here's the thing about innovation: it only matters if it solves a problem people actually have. And this solved a problem that absolutely nobody had. Quibi launched on April 6, 2020. Think about that date for a moment. The entire world had just shut down. A global pandemic had locked billions of people inside their homes, sitting in front of their televisions with nothing but time. Quibi's entire thesis was built on people being busy, being on the go, needing quick entertainment in small doses between activities. But suddenly, no one was commuting. No one was in waiting rooms. No one was grabbing lunch breaks. Everyone was home, binge-watching Tiger King on Netflix. The timing wasn't just unfortunate. It was catastrophically, almost cosmically ironic. The one scenario that could obliterate Quibi's reason for existing had materialized on the exact day they pressed launch. The first week looked promising: 300,000 downloads. But then the numbers began to plummet, and they never recovered. By the end of the free trial period, 92% of users didn't convert to paying subscribers. 92% walked away. The app charged $5 a month or $8 without ads for content nobody was discussing around the water cooler. Meanwhile, TikTok was exploding with free, addictive, short-form content made by regular people in their bedrooms. The culture had already decided what bite-sized video looked like. And it looked nothing like glossy Hollywood productions trapped on a phone screen. Inside Quibi's offices, the mood was shifting from optimism to something far darker. Panic set in at Quibi's headquarters. Whitman and Katzenberg scrambled for solutions. They extended free trials to 90 days. They slashed prices. They rushed to build the ability to cast content to televisions, the very feature they'd been told they needed from day one, the feature they'd arrogantly refused. But every fix felt like bailing water out of a sinking ocean liner with a coffee cup. The maddening irony? Some of the content was genuinely good. The show Most Dangerous Game starring Liam Hemsworth actually went on to win an Emmy. But nobody watched it. You can prepare the finest meal ever cooked, but if you force people to eat it standing inside a phone booth, they'll simply walk to the restaurant next door. And that's when the finger-pointing started. Katzenberg started pointing fingers publicly. He told the New York Times that COVID had been an earthquake that fundamentally changed the landscape beneath Quibi's feet. But the tech industry wasn't buying that excuse. Not even close. Because COVID had been a golden gift to every other streaming platform on Earth. Disney Plus surged past 50 million subscribers during the pandemic. Netflix added 26 million new users in the first half of 2020 alone. HBO Max launched and thrived. If anything, the pandemic proved people were desperate for new content. They just didn't want it in 10-minute chunks imprisoned on a phone. The real problem wasn't a virus. The real problem was that Quibi built something nobody asked for. And the market was about to deliver its final verdict. October 21st, 2020. 6 months and 15 days after launch. Quibi announced it was shutting down permanently and returning whatever remained to investors. $1.75 billion of other people's money. Incinerated. In half a year. The fastest billion-dollar startup death in the history of Silicon Valley. A funeral pyre of investor cash that burned so bright the entire technology industry stopped to stare. 2 legendary resumes. Nearly $2 billion. And absolutely nothing to show for it. But the wreckage still had a story to tell. Roku scooped up Quibi's entire content library for what insiders say was less than $100 million. Pennies on the dollar for programming that cost nearly $1 billion to produce. Quibi's 700 employees lost their jobs. Most within weeks of the announcement. Katzenberg personally called investors to apologize, reportedly telling each one he felt deep personal responsibility for what happened. Whitman pivoted away from tech and was eventually appointed U.S. ambassador to Kenya in 2022. The investors absorbed the blow. When you're Disney or Goldman Sachs, $1.75 billion stings, but it doesn't end you. The employees who believed in the dream and uprooted their lives, they didn't have that cushion. What truly killed Quibi wasn't COVID. It wasn't bad content. It wasn't even bad timing. It was arrogance, the fundamental belief that 2 powerful resumes and nearly $2 billion could manufacture demand for something the market never requested. Katzenberg and Whitman never meaningfully tested whether anyone actually wanted premium mobile-only short-form content at a monthly price. They assumed that if they built it with enough star power and enough money, audiences would come running. That assumption cost investors everything. There's an old truth in Silicon Valley that the graveyard is full of products that were technically brilliant but commercially pointless. The market doesn't care about your pedigree. It doesn't care about your famous friends or your war chest. The market only asks one question. Do people actually want what you're selling? $1.75 billion. 6 months. 2 of the most accomplished business minds of their generation. And a product nobody wanted. Quibi didn't die because the world changed. It died because its creators confused their own excitement for the world's. Somewhere in Silicon Valley's sprawling graveyard of dead startups, Quibi's headstone reads just 5 words: "We built it, nobody came." The most expensive lesson ever taught. And apparently one that still needs learning.